So let me just get Epic Pen. It's here. So yeah, like I said, there were quite a few kind of issues overall with the game. So first up, this was fine. Obviously, we get push pressure on them early. But what do you think the purpose of bouncing this wave early is and using the prior to get that wave in first? Why do you think we wanted to do that?
Getting vision in the river, potentially?
Okay, so that's something. I mean, the Fiddlesticks is pathing topside, so doesn't
Yeah.
matter as much. But why else do you think it is? What happens when you crash early waves?
Uh, the enemy AD can miss CS at the tower.
Okay, so that's one thing, yeah. But by us getting so much pressure on this wave and pushing it in early, what we actually do is it gives us time that we can kind of play a little bit more aggressive, and also we can allow the next wave to bounce back.
Yeah.
So here I feel like we did this, but we didn't understand why we did it. We just did it, you know. So like
Yeah.
here, for example, we get some pressure, which is great. I do think we should have been going earlier. I think our positioning in this kind of situation is kind of bad because we know that the wave is going to be huge, right? And look at how big our wave already is. So there's no excuse for us to be all the way back here. Instead, we should be walking up. And as soon as the wave drops, if they walk up to this, we need to be able to punish them. And you can't do that from here. And you've got Yumi. And so, you know, like Syndra isn't going to be able to do anything at level 1. It's one of the other reasons why it's easy to do this. Because at level 1, okay, she's going to have a Q, but she doesn't have her E, and then she won't have a W until 3 either. So this level 1 is a kind of point that we know that our kit is much, much stronger at level 1 because of Ashe passive, right? Like the W and passive are just so oppressive. It's kind of one of the things why you force it and why you force these early waves. It's purely because of the design of our kit. So here, like, you know, we only got, say, like 1 or 2 autos. So, you know, we did still chunk them out, but this could have been even more, right? Now, the next mistake, though, is that this is fine. And now it's like this wave isn't going to freeze because this has come up here. So what we should have done is not hit this. So this was a big int, because if we hadn't have hit this, these minions would have stayed here, and then we would have got a slow push into us to here, which is obviously going to be good because we've got a Yumi. So it means that we're completely safe back there, and that we're not going to get roamed on, anything like that. Now, why do you think it's also very, very important in this game specifically that you let the wave come back at this point of the game? Why do you think it's the correct play with your lane state based on the other matchups?
I don't expect Hecarim to go bot as quick as that.
Okay, yeah.
But maybe there are 2v2 like Syndra can engage and bubble from Nemi and I'm dead.
So one thing that we also have to decide is on your team, who is going to win this mid matchup early game?
Zed.
Yes, extremely hard.
Yeah.
Purely because Corki is not an early game champion. He's a control mage. He's a very, very difficult mage as well. And, you know, he can't really do that much until 6 either. So if say Hecarim ganks mid at that point and even just forces the wave in, then all of a sudden, or he doesn't even need to, like, if the Zed plays it properly, he can push that wave in. And then what's going to happen is he's going to look to do something else on the map. So if our wave is back here and safe, means that the Zed isn't going to, you know, be able to do anything into us. So at this point now, you have to force it and push it, which, you know, Zed isn't actually moving. And I think he was AFK. I don't know. I don't think he's actually playing his lane properly. So, you know, it doesn't really matter too much. But so even like here as well. So this also comes up a little bit later. So right here, what decision do they have?
They can't. No, they can't freeze.
No. Okay.
So they just clear the remaining minions. And,
okay. So they can either hit the minions or you, right? They can't do both. So at this point, we should be going aggressive. Like we're clicking back here for no reason, because right here she either gets the minions or you. So in this situation, we want to hit her. We want to just go kind of nuts, getting damage, and you know, that's going to be our focus, especially because of, again, the amount of healing. But see here, because we were like playing really, really safe, we didn't really get anything off on them. And then here we just start pushing the wave. So another thing that you're doing as well is you're making these decisions without evaluating the rest of the map. So right here, like we haven't even looked at mid lane. So it's like when that wave is in a position where it's, okay, like here, what we should be doing is not just looking at our mini-map, we should be looking over mid lane as well. So this is where your F keys come in, and this is why they're really, really important, because what we should do is look over mid lane and go, okay, well, what's the lane state there? Like, let's say, for example, the wave is here, and it's about to slow push in. That's an indicator of, okay, we don't touch this next wave, and we just let it come back, and then play safe again, right? Whereas, say, for example, if we've got a slow push, then we might, be incentivized to go a bit more aggressive, push the wave in, the next one, stuff like that, because we know the Hecarim's topside and the Zed can't do anything, right? So we're not really gathering enough information about the map, and when you do start going for things like Master Tier, you will go against Zed mids that will completely stomp Corkis, and, then you'll get punished super, super hard for it. So it's kind of like, you have to kind of start playing the game sort of overall, rather than just for yourself, But like even here, for example, so what do you think was the big problem here? So let's just watch over it again.
I tunnel vision on the Nami, to be honest.
Okay. So
because of Yumi's Q.
Okay.
Maybe I didn't expect Syndra's E to be back that quickly also.
But either way, in this situation right here, what do they have to do damage to you after this has gone down?
Auto attacks, mainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they going to do a lot with autos?
No.
No, they're going to do nothing. You've got Biscuits and you've got Potion. Biscuits are... One of the misconceptions that people think with Biscuits is they're a defensive tool inside of the laning phase, but they're not. They're an aggressive tool. Like one Biscuit will give you a significant amount of HP. They tick faster than a normal Potion, so overall they just give you way, way more. And they don't take as long to tick either. So what you do in this situation is like, okay, Syndra's just used everything. So now we use our Biscuit and our Potion together, and then we just run it down. Especially considering we have a Yumi as well, right? And then look at this, see how far up this Nami came, and we also the cannon. So it's like we have to start evaluating in lane what has happened and what we should look to do from there. But this also comes down to sort of experience as well, I guess, a bit. But yeah, so another thing about this kind of exchange as well is what do you think about the timing of this exchange?
Not great for me because I don't have my W.
Okay, so that's one thing. What else? Like, so I've said this, I don't know if I've said it in sessions with you before, but one of the main things that you're always looking to do throughout any kind of level of the game, I mean, even more prominent in kind of lower elos, but even in kind of like Diamond, it's still very, very important, is what you need to do is you need to try and make the enemy make a decision that will have a higher chance of favoring you. So the problem with a lot of kind of these plays and stuff is they're just happening at complete random times. Now, what can you see on the screen right now that indicates a play that you could make that's going to force them to make a decision?
The cannon, I guess.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, that's right. Like, so one thing that you should have been looking to do is, this wave is already in a unfavorable position. We do want to get it crashed in either way. But the problem that we have here is what we should be looking to do is wait, start hitting this cannon, finish our cannon off, and then go for them at that point. Wait till the cannon gets to, say, like here, and then we want to start a fight. Because then what we're doing is we're giving them that, or maybe a bit higher just because it's Syndra, maybe here so she doesn't throw it at you. So we basically need to force them to make a decision around what they're going to do. Are they going to go for the cannon, which we've already claimed ours, or are they going to go for a trade back? They're either going to do, they're going to do one of three things. They're either going to go for the cannon and secure that guaranteed gold, which is a good play, especially considering that play would mean that they've already messed up. So that would be a good way of saving it. They're either going to try and trade back, which, they'll put some damage on you, but you'll get a cannon advantage, or they'll just get confused and do neither, really.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the things that you're looking for permanently to try and kind of get those advantages. Because right here as well, it's like they've used everything as well. So this Navi could have been a pretty easy kill. Oh,
yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. It just didn't give goal. It's just really weird. So yeah, this is fine because we're gonna look to push in. Well, so this is kind of a little bit to do with kind of like your build path as well. Going longsword early is very, very good, but you need oh, I need to mute my work email. But you need to know your recall timers, right? So how much gold would you need for a vampiric?
550.
Yeah, so it's 550 for that kind of buy. And why is vampiric so important here?
Because it's not an all-in lane, so it's about long trades and sustain.
Yeah, and also their bursters, right? So your goal is to survive through their burst however you can. Now, if you survive through the burst through sustain, great, you know? And this is kind of one of the things. I've spoken about this a lot. But there's a combat triangle, right? So what do you think? Actually, I'll just say it. So you've got poke, you've got all in, and you have sustain, right? So if, say, for example, you're playing a poke champion, you're going to typically beat all-in champions if you play it properly, because you'll be able to poke them of so much HP that their windows of opportunity to engage are very restricted because they don't have the HP to actually do it, right? So that's kind of how you beat an all-in lane. Now, all-in will beat sustain, because sustain is very much based around things like poke. Well, not poke, but they're pretty much based around just healing constantly. But that also means that they have cooldowns to heal them. So when it comes to sustain, what you do is you don't give them the chance to get those cooldowns and keep healing. You all-in them, completely one-shot them, and then it doesn't matter if they've got healing, right? And then you have the sustain versus poke, which is what we're seeing here, which is basically a case of because they're both cooldown reliant. If, say, for example, they keep trying to poke you and then you just heal that poke up straight away, which you will with Vampiric and Yuumi, then they're just going to slowly lose their mana. And instead of attacking their health bar, you attack their mana pool. And by doing that, then you end up putting them in a position where they can never really fight with you because you've got this massive HP difference and they have no mana, you know? So this is kind of a very good concept to just keep note of. Now, obviously, champion archetypes kind of sit in different ones. Like, for example, artillery mages will usually be poke champions, stuff like that. But it's also based on the style of play that you decide to go with, right? So in this kind of situation, you've got to go, okay, well, they're going to poke me out a lot in lane. What can I do about that? Oh, I can get some sustain, and that will ease the poke, you know? So it's a really, really handy kind of way of just kind of breaking down your matchup, especially before you're fully understanding of it. Because, like I said, this boots by. Obviously, if you could have got Berserker Greaves, maybe it'd be nice to try and dodge away from the Syndra E, stuff like that. But you can, at this point in the game with Yuumi, you can just tank that Syndra E, especially before she has level 6, and then you just kill them. And that's kind of how this matchup should have been played. This was a good slow push here, though, making sure that you don't really do too much. And then this is fine. Now, this is another thing, though. You're getting very, very flustered with your camera. So you're panicking a lot with your camera. How do you think we could have fixed that?
F keys? No F keys, but
no. So
reduce the sensibility, I don't know.
Yeah, so if, say, for example, you were painting a picture, what would you be looking at?
Syndra mainly,
yeah,
like
so,
the CS at the bottom, and
so, I mean,
Syndra, mainly on Syndra.
If you were painting, your eyes would be on the canvas, right? It wouldn't be on the wall to the left of the canvas, because there's no point, nothing's happening there. Same with this. You want to basically be seeing your kind of this square here, which is your entire screen. You want to see that as kind of like a picture or a canvas. So it's like right now, these minions are here. There's absolutely nothing going on back here. It's completely pointless seeing there. Syndra's all the way up here, and we're farming minions here. So as long as the screen is like this, you get all the rest of this lane. It kind of come out to, it'd be like this, right? So you get all of this lane, which is important because then it's also, this is where you're going to be moving into later as well. So you end up being able to see the area that you want to move into, and then that means that when things do happen, you're not rushing to move your camera because it's already in the location that's needed, right? So like here, and then we're kind of moving it about, and you'll see even back here, there's still nothing really happening, and you're going to end up in kind of like a fight or something, and you're going to have to move a camera, which is just an extra input. So this was, I mean, the flash wasn't too bad, to be honest.
I don't have damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, if I have damage to kill the enemy, it's fine. But
I think if you had Vampiric here, you could have probably won this, especially because you have 2 biscuits and 2 potions available as well. So you have a massive amount of healing. So I do think you're and like here, see. So right now, like she has just used her E and got absolutely nothing out of it. So it's like, this is your time to run her down. Like, what's she going to do to stop you, right? So the E has been used, so you should just be instantly going. Just go on her straight away, right? Like, as soon as you get that slow off, you just win. Because, again, you've got biscuits, you've got your potion, you've got heal, and you've got a Yumi as well. Which, Yumi's basically an item, to be honest. Like,
yes.
So it's like, I get an extra item in lane, but you get a support. So yeah, now this part, right, so this is obviously, because this was like an in-game session, like, I know sometimes it's very hard to kind of take in the information when it's happening, which I think is what happened here. So right at this point, this was a point where we were saying you can't walk up, you can't go in, right? So why do you think I said that to you?
Because I was not level 6 yet.
Okay, so yeah, you're not level 6. Syndra doesn't have any mana, so you know we could basically win a 3v2 if the Fiddlesticks is here. So we could have won a 3v2, but why can't we actually take that fight?
Well, we have no way to engage. I mean, yeah, unless they randomly try to push the wave.
So that's one thing. Now Fiddlesticks was looking for an engage angle. I think it was this play, right? Yeah. So Fiddlesticks was looking for an engage angle, which, you know, could have... Oh, no, it wasn't here. Sorry, my bad. This wasn't... I thought this was a different play.
Yeah, okay, but it was the same, yeah. I see.
We'll cover it when it gets to it. I think it was a little bit later, actually. I think it was actually your first death. So here, this was just completely grief. Like, I don't know what she was doing here. Right, now this is the next big thing, though. So... You were going to recall here. Why do you think we told you? Well, I told you, do not recall.
Yeah. Because nothing can threaten me at this point.
Yeah, so you're in no real danger. Syndra is dead. Yeah. Nami's here. Okay, Zed isn't showing, but I swear we saw him mid. Okay, so Nami is around that. Zed actually used his ult. So we did see this earlier. Zed had used his ult on Corki already, so he's not going to roam into bot. Syndra is dead. Now why else? What number wave is this? 1, 2, 3.
So it's 8:30. So it's the wait.
Okay.
So 2 waves per minute, starting at 1. So 5th wave.
Oh no, so it's the second wave. You want to count waves in 3s, unless you're looking for overall strategy, because then you can count 5, 6, 7, etc. But yeah, this is the second wave. Now, because this is the second wave, we've got a cannon coming. So one of the big mistakes we've done here is we killed Syndra, we punished her, but then we start recalling. So it's like, oh no, that's really bad, because we have 2 plays that we can do here, which would help us massively. So the first one would be to use the pressure that you've got on the tower to do what? So what can you do since the position of your minions are here?
Taking a plate.
Plate's not really the big issue. Like, how are you ever going to
taking vision there?
Yeah. So you've got a ward available. You have a lot of goals, so you're going to look to back, but there's no real danger here. So what you do is you walk up to here, you get that ward down, then you push the next wave, and you actually start pushing it as soon as you can get close to it. And then by doing that, you then end up pushing this kind of cannon in, whilst also denying her a cannon because you would have actually pushed it in time, I'm fairly certain, and you would have also got a ward in that brush. So her making that mistake could have potentially ended the entire lane phase for her, but we just kind of, we didn't really look to capitalize it as much as we could, right?
Yeah, indeed.
But this was... Oh, I think it was here. I think this was...
Yeah, that's terrible.
Okay, so, yeah, in this situation, we see the Z is mid, but what indicator do we have on the map as well that this is not something that we can go for?
The wave is not in a good state for us.
Okay,
like it's reset, I guess, and yeah, it's hard to get things going.
You have no information on where Hecarim is.
Yeah, indeed.
But what information do you have of where he could be? What's the biggest indicator of where he could potentially be if he's playing properly?
I've just sent an oak to the bot side, so I assumed he was top side.
Okay. So we can never really assume. Just not when it's something like a Hecarim that's a very big counter to us because we're in a mobile ADC, right? So we can't really assume, but we see this camp, right? So we see that, say for example, he's clear top. He should have. He's played Hecarim. If he hasn't, he's griefing. So he's probably going to be on this camp, right? So the most logical place that this Hecarim is going to be on the map is going to be in this bottom side. So because of that, it means, you know, we're not going to go in, we're not going to do anything. Especially because I think this was actually the play that snowballed this game out of control. Yeah. Because we're playing a game where, you know, we've got long range Ashe, long range Corki. Corki Yuumi is disgusting late into the game. You've got a massive amount of poke that's going to stop them kind of all inning, and you've got Garen to just be a beefy front line. So overall, your comp is very, very kind of good and will scale very, very heavily. Especially if the Corki... Actually, he got Shieldbot, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he did, I guess. I think.
He probably should have gone the other build this game, just because he can't really walk up. But yeah, this we grief super hard. So it's like, Yuumi, we should instantly be pinging her to back off. Because we know the Hecarim's bot side. I think I even said to you in the game that the Hecarim is bot side. And so it's like, okay, we can't really do anything. We just leave the Yuumi. We should have pinged her to back away early. And just ping, you know. Just like, don't go. It's not worth it. And if we would have done that, then, you know, maybe she wouldn't have made such a silly mistake. But overall... we also wasted our ultimate for no real reason, and now lo and behold, Hecarim is here, and we don't even get Syndra because of the Nami heal. So this was huge grief. This was we autopiloted really, really hard, especially since, you know, we'd already said we can't fight here, you know. But again, it doesn't really matter too much. So now obviously they get a massive amount on your tower. And then the Syndra just TP's back. Again, Crown. I have no idea why you'd go Crown against an Ashe when she is... I mean, obviously Gwen is AP as well, but she was so fed that it would have been very, very good for her to go Ludens. So here, this is honestly just a case of Hecarim's just going to spam go for you here. So what do you think was one of the things that we could have done here to avoid this?
Ward, take this time now to ward the river quite deeply.
So that's one thing. Another thing that you can do is if you ever do end up pushing up, you can stand in this groove here. If you stand there and ward this spot, it'll actually go here. So you can do that if you are pushing up being aggressive, but against a Hecarim, you can't do that at all. Because it's like, you know, like we don't know where he is. Fiddlestick's top and the dragon is spawning soon. So he's always going to come for us. So this was kind of, again, another kind of play where we just didn't really consider Hecarim. And this is one of the biggest things, right? I feel like one thing that we're lacking on at the moment is we're not really tracking the enemy jungler. And we're not taking these opportunities to actually make a good decision about going in. We're just kind of doing it whenever the lane is good to go in. But what you should be doing is know your windows to do things. Then once that window comes up, you need to go, okay, is this window viable? If the Hecarim isn't showing, then it's not viable, you know? Like, so it's like you can't go for it. Anyway, there will be other windows. Just don't really worry too much about it. Other windows will exist that you can abuse. So she's now just hard pushing in, which is fine. So what we want to look to do is use the enemy minion buff to just freeze the wave. Now, one of the things that you want to be doing in this situation is you want to freeze until you've got shield bolt, if not shield bolt and wit's end. So what you need to do is, as the wave is coming here, you need to catch it, drag it down, and then get in this brush, go here. As soon as the wave is there, just go in. And what you can do is you can go in and out of this bush over and over and over. And the minions will keep trying to target you, but they won't target you. Now, this is due to how the minions work. There's two phases with the minions. The one is to target someone. And phase 2 is to actually attack. Now, the caster minions have such a long wind-up time for their attack that they'll never actually hit you. They'll target you over and over and over, but they'll never get this attack off. So you can basically just freeze permanently, and you can keep it here. Now, the reason you have to keep it here too is because if you don't, when your wave stacks up like this, what will sometimes happen is if your melee comes up and say, for example, these 3 melees are targeting one minion, right? What will then happen is, so you've got 3. What will then happen is this minion here, which is the minion that has the most HP, what that'll do is as soon as this one targets him, he'll go, okay, I'm getting attacked by that one. And what he'll do then is he'll run around so that he can hit it. Now, if he does that, this cannon is then going to hit him, and that's going to break it entirely, and then this is gone, right? So that's one thing that we have to take into consideration with these freezes. But, you know, it's a very, very kind of... So see here, we were doing it, but we weren't actually leaving the brush. And then that ended up with it, you know, resetting. But we can still just last it. Now, why do you think the minions will also permanently stay here? Do you know the reasoning?
Because the tower's too far? I don't know.
Okay. So, if you have identical minions, so 6 here, 6 here, you'd think that would push, right?
It depends on the levels of the minions.
So it's not to do with that, it's to do with the tower. Now when you take a tower, your allied minions, so these red minions right now, will do more damage and will take less damage. So they get a damage buff and a defensive buff based on the towers that have been taken. So because of that, it means that they'll do additional damage to your minions, meaning that, and they'll take less damage, so they'll actually stay in this location for a significant amount of time. So it becomes very, very easy to permanently hold the wave in this situation, as long as you never stop them going past this point. Now, this is obviously something that I've done for years, and it just means that if you do lose your lane and they take that tower, it's very, very good all around, because you can just get to your 2 items and then you're still viable, right? This is also something that you have to use very, very frequently when you're kind of climbing through Diamond as an ADC, especially when, especially when you have supports that aren't too great. So here we just shouldn't have really been positioned in the dark, right? Like, I mean, you did get completely one shot, but this was just for the fact that you weren't really doing anything. So, do you see what I mean now with how you said, you know, that the mistakes that you made didn't really stop the game, whereas in theory, the mistakes that we made actually snowballed the game. And then it got to a point where, you know, even though it felt like we didn't do anything like grievous, like something really bad, it was actually a few small things that we did that could have potentially changed it. Now, the reason why this is important as well is because Ashe Yumi into Syndra Nami, especially the way they were playing this lane, this could have been a lane that we could have really, really abused, right? And then the Syndra ended up being so big, because of those few mistakes, that there wasn't that much that we could really do. Especially when the Gwen started popping off as well. But, you know, Gwen wouldn't have been at her power spike stages if we'd have just played our lane better. So this thing, you do want to very, very much just focus on your own laning phase. This Fiddles is a complete griefer, but it doesn't really matter. So why doesn't this matter too much for you, do you think? I mean, it definitely feels bad, for sure. But
the wave ended nicely because there are only like 5 minions remaining on my side, so it can freeze for me.
Not just that, but what do you think Ashe's purpose is later on into the game? What do you think she provides the most of?
0 for Ashe, it's just arrows and slows.
Yeah, utility, right? So,
yeah.
You know, the Fiddles wasn't doing too bad. I can't remember what his score was. He didn't even get the cannon, which was... But yeah, so we end up in this kind of position where we're kind of utility-based anyway, and the main damage dealer is actually going to be the Corki no matter what.
Yeah.
So, to be honest, losing a bit of farm feels bad, but it's not really going to matter too much. You just have to make sure in those situations that it doesn't, tilt you a little bit, because that's what usually gets people when a jungler will just completely soak a wave, but... Okay, so this was interesting. I think we could have potentially done something here. I mean, I guess Corki did get one shot. I always like how you can see Syndra's killing somebody just from these HP bars. You'll see in a second. Oh, chunk. It's like a machine gun. But... Yeah, so at this point, it becomes a little bit difficult.
The game is over.
Yeah, it becomes very, very hard. Especially because, we have, in theory, got a very hard scaling comp, which in solo queue, can be very, very risky. This is why I never, ever recommend Corki, even if he's kind of good. Unless your name is Maggie Felix, then it's very, very difficult to play something like Corki. This was a very, very good pick, though. This could have potentially brought the game around a little bit. But again, this is kind of the concept that I was telling you earlier, where your team are the ones that have been made to make a decision here, and they made the wrong decision,
Yeah, about Nashor, yeah.
Yeah, so you got this, okay, great. If Corki would have just sacked that wave and just came to Nasha here, but he wanted a wave.
Oh yeah, I didn't see.
And then he started recalling.
Oh, that's so sad. He got one shot. Okay, I didn't see that.
Especially when Corki, one of the reasons why Corki is taken so much is because he's a very safe laner that scales super hard, and then he can do objectives really, really quick because he does majority magic damage. Now the reason behind that is because Baron actually has a lot more armor than it does MR, so any champion that can spam magic damage very quickly is very good at Baron. So things like Cassiopeia, even things like Vlad, Corki, Kaiser as well, because she's got a lot of magic damage. This is why when you're playing those champions, you have to focus objectives quite heavily. But then focusing objectives quite heavily is forcing your team to make decisions and make team plays, which again in solo queue is just very, very bad. So this is usually why these champions aren't usually recommended for solo queue. Obviously you do get some champions that are not recommended for solo queue because they're just so hard. Say for example Lucian. I think if you can play Lucian very well, he's an amazing solo queue pick because he just snowballs out of control. But you're basically getting into a game expecting to be like, okay, well, this game's probably lost if I don't get very ahead very early. So you're kind of putting yourself in a really bad position, isn't it? So we just got a little bit greedy, to be honest. So we got the tower, we got the bounty for it. Here we just back away.
Yeah, I know it was steady, it was fine, yeah.
Yeah, so here we just back away. But it's fine. So we do get our wits end. Now, the problem with going for... Now, this doesn't really affect you here, but the problem with going for Rage Blade at this point is you can only really go Rage Blade if you're in a position where you can consistently auto-attack. Now, when you're into a comp like Syndra, Zed, and Hecarim, you are never going to auto-attack a significant amount of time. So what you do is, instead of going for a Ginzu's that requires autos, you go for a low Dominix for guards, which is going to help you massively against things like the Hecarim. And then because you've got that extra crit item, you can then go in IE after it, right? So it just means that you can actually go 5th item IE, and it's viable. Whereas in this game, if you would have got later on into the game, Ginzu's would be completely useless. Not completely useless, but it wouldn't have been anywhere near as good as IE, which is better at kind of... If you can only get 1, 2, 3, 4 autos, IE is going to be better, but in those kind of really long fights, Ginzu's is nuts. Especially since Ashe doesn't really, crit anyway, I guess, so it's just very, very good item. I mean, both are good. It's just you have to take them in the right situation. And then, here, there's nothing we can really do. But, yeah. So there was quite a few things. So I'll just stop the recording there.